Okay, things are falling. Look, look, guys, look, look. Welcome back. First of all, welcome back. Welcome back to the show. I know it's Thursday and it's a late recap, but there's other priorities, and also, I travel a lot, so that's a reminder to subscribe to the channel. Remember, the goal is to be a touring comedian that sells out with specifically Miami Dolphin fans, and we could do a Dolphins podcast and a Q&A, and we could all talk about them. And what a dream that would be. But if you've watched previous recaps, I did say last week, I believe I said, call me out if I'm wrong. I said, could we win? Maybe. But I said if we lost, I talked about the firing of Mike McDaniel. I said, look, if Mike McDaniel wins against Buffalo, there's a chance there could be a win streak and he saves his job. If he lost, they would probably want to see Weaver and see what he was like with the locker room. But most importantly, I said, we'll know exactly how this team feels based off of how they come out against the Bills. If they play them tough, they love McDaniel. And I said that weeks ago after the Browns, or after, the Colts loss. I said it after, after the Patriots loss. I said the way they showed up against the Bills. And then we beat the Jets. And then after the Panthers loss, we almost beat the Chargers. And then the Browns loss happened. You're like, okay, what's going on? And then they shock us with the Falcons win. And then the Ravens loss happens. You're like, what the hell's going on? And now we have a Bills win. And now you're wondering, what do I do as a fan? We don't have a GM. I think we're all happy. I think that was the number one priority, was GM. And then, a lot of us are over Tua. And we still are. Regardless of the win against Buffalo, we're over Tua. We are. But we're stuck with him for another year. Let's just accept that. It doesn't mean that we won't draft someone in the late first round, or maybe a late pick, or maybe we accumulate a bunch of picks for the following draft. Maybe that happens. Who knows? That's up to the next GM, if there isn't even a next GM. But let's apologize to Mike McDaniel. I've always liked him, and I always want to keep him. But now I'm very curious about what's going to happen with this team. Are we, as a fan base, allowed to be a little delusional right now? And my answer is, of course we can. Of course you can be delusional, because that's the best part about being a Miami Dolphins fan. And now, what type of delusion am I talking about? A lot of you are like, cool, that felt good to beat the Bills. We hadn't beat them in a while. It's only our second time we beat the Bills in 7 years. And might I add that someone mentioned, when we play the Bills at home at 1 o'clock, we can beat them. It's the prime times that we can't beat them at home. But if we play them at 1 o'clock, we can beat them. So whoever makes the schedule, going forward, we request no primetime games with the Buffalo Bills. Let us just play a regular 1 o'clock Sunday game, just an old-fashioned football game, please. But as a Miami Dolphins fan, let's get a little delusional. Sunday, Spain. I don't like Europe games. I don't like over in other country games because it's scary. I don't think it's gone well for us. I would have to pull up the record. I'm not sure what the record is for us in London and all these other games in other countries, but I feel like we lose a lot. The most notable ones, we lost to the Chiefs in Germany. We lost to the Jaguars in London. It was their first win of that season. Remember, they got that little that quick pass to kick the game-winning field goal. It was one of Tua's first games back. Flores' last year. I don't like that. In previous years, I think maybe we lost to the Giants. I'm not positive, but I just don't like them. But we're playing a banged-up team without their starting quarterback. They've lost 3 in a row. They have to travel. This is a situation where we should win. We are favored for the first time since the Jets game? Yeah. Since the Jets game, we are favored for the first time. So, do I feel good about this game? I do. And you do too. Now, would now some of you are probably like, why am I cheering for them to win? I would like them to lose to get a higher draft pick. What are we drafting? We're not drafting a quarterback. So if you have a 10th to 15th pick overall, you can still get a game changer, a player that is a game changer at the O-line or defensive end or outside linebacker position. I believe that. And I think that with the roster we have, I think we have an idea of who is going to be on this team going forward and who's not. I mean, there could be some changes that are unexpected. Like I don't know what would happen with Mika Fitzpatrick. I don't know if that's a guy who's going to settle in and just be like, no, I'm here to stay and end my career here. Or do we use him for draft capital? But I think Jordan Brooks, Zach Sealer, our rookie Grant, who hasn't really showed up much, Chop Robinson, those young pieces. Obviously, there's some young cornerbacks that are rookies. We'll see if they, improve enough to become starters. Obviously, they're starters right now, but like if we added better quality players. And then on the O-line, we have Patrick Paul, who's a stud. We have our center, Brewer. And then you have Achane and Waddle, who are on our team. But we're going to have to pay Achane. He's going to get a contract, I'll tell you that much. He's going into his last year of his rookie contract, so there's going to be some contract negotiations this offseason, and we're going to have to figure that out, and I hope we keep him. But if you move on from him, you move on from him. That's the game. That's how it is with running backs. A lot of running backs don't stay with their team after the rookie contract because they want more money, and some team that's ready to win now will pay him. So, that being said, we'll slide that aside. Why would I cheer for them to win? Because I don't think that this is the year we're going to draft the next quarterback. So I don't want to cheer for them to lose. I want to cheer for them to win. And I want to be delusional. And that's what I'm telling you guys to be. Because let's play this out. And I like to count wins because that's what we do as fans. If we beat the Washington Commanders. We're 4-5. 4-7, sorry. We're 4-7. Okay? Then we play the Saints. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Now hear me out. We have a bye week, right? After the Washington game. Right? Do we? Yep. We have a bye week after the Washington game. And then we're home against the Saints. 5-7. 5-7. Let's just say it's a 5-7 team. What does 5-7 mean to the Miami Dolphins? Okay? It means there's 5 games left. And when there's 5 games left, every sports show puts up a graphic, right? They put up a graphic and it says division winners, wild card, in the hunt. At 5-7, our team is in the hunt. It's on the graphic, and that is something to cheer for. We're not going to make the playoffs. We're not going to win a playoff game. We're not going to the Super Bowl. We're not winning a Super Bowl. But you know what is exciting? To be on a graphic. That's all you want. From the way this season started, the fact that you are on a graphic is fun. That's what we're cheering for, right? That's what we're cheering for. 5-7. We're in the hunt. We're in the hunt. Oh, Dolphins stink. Da-da-da. Yeah, but what's that over there in the right column on Rich Eisen's show or on Colin Coward's show or Dan Lebitard and them are going to make fun of us, but still they don't put up those graphics. But other shows, Sports Center, what's that up on the right there? Nick Wright on his show, what's that up on the right there? In the hunt? We're in the hunt. Now, we're in the hunt for those 2 weeks, right? We're watching the sports shows. All of a sudden, they're like, oh, Dolphins have won 3 in a row. There's talk. It's fun to watch the sports shows. I mean, that's what if you're watching this, let's be honest. If you're watching my sports channel, then that means you're a diehard sports channel watcher like I am. That means you watch all the other shows, and I'm lucky enough that I made it in your algorithm, and you guys are just like me, and you're a fan, and you think I'm crazy, and you like watching me talk about the Miami Dolphins because I'm an optimistic Dolphins fan, and there's very few of us. And I don't break down the games. I'm not some sort of like guru like that. I'm just one of you. Okay? So I'm excited about that. 3 in a row, 5-7 in the hunt. That's something to be excited about. But can I just tell you one other thing? The next week after the Saints, we play the Jets. This is where I sit up. 6-7. Not only are we in the hunt, I would argue that we would be like 2 to 3 games out of the 7th seed. 2 or 3 games out of the 7th seed. Depending on what happens, we would need a lot of luck for other teams to lose some bad games. But like the 7th seed could very well be a 7-5 team. So if the 7th seed is a 7-5 team and we're 5-7, we're 2 games out, right? We're 2 games out with, 6-7. We're 2 games out with 4 games left. The only problem is that 7th seed would probably be like someone like the Chargers, someone like the Bills, teams we've already lost to. I don't know what the tiebreaker would be with the Bills, but the Chargers we lost to. And maybe some teams that we can't get ahead of because it's out of our control. The Ravens. Hopefully you want the Steelers to be there. The problem is the West. You got the Chargers are the Chargers and Chiefs, and the Chiefs aren't going to lose 7 games. That's the problem. The Chiefs and the Broncos are not going to lose 7 games. So then that probably means that the Chargers would have to lose 8 games. They're not. They could lose 7 games, but they have the tiebreaker over us. So that's why we can't get so delusional that we think we're going to make the playoffs. But, that's 4, 5, 6 teams. So the other wild card would be the Bills or the Patriots. And the Bills are probably not losing 7 games. So that's the whole thing. So we're not going to make the playoffs. But to be 6-7 and the 7th seed maybe be the Bills or the Chargers at 7-5, that could be exciting to get like a little delusional, like a very delusional. Because then the next week we play the Steelers, which would be like a team where if we win, we knock them off and we have the tiebreaker over them. And you're at 7-7 after a huge Monday night game in Pittsburgh. You're 7-7, and there's 3 games left. And then you get to evaluate what we would have to do. Oh, yeah, we'd have to win out, but we could count losses for other teams. But, Jesus, everything's falling apart. That's the Dolphins season right there. That's what's going to happen. Everything's going to fall apart. You're going to get to 7-7, and then we're going to play the Bengals, and Joe Burrow's not playing because they're out of it, and then we lose to them for some reason. Something like that would happen, but I think, realistically, I've already done some of the, math. The Patriots and the Bills only have 3 losses. They're not going to lose 4 more. So they're in. The Patriots are in. And the Broncos, Chargers, and Chiefs are in. Could the Chargers lose? They're just not going to lose 8 games. And they have the tiebreaker. And the Broncos and Chiefs are not going to lose 7. So that's what's unfortunate. Is the fact is, could we go on a run and go 10-7? Yes, but you're not going to make the playoffs. And that's sad. And that will hurt a lot because then you'll think about, even if you get to 9-8, you'll think about games like the Chargers game. You'll think about the Carolina game. You'll think about the Patriots game. And you'll be like, oh, what if? What if? And that delusion gets really bad. Because if you start to do the what ifs, then people will start getting back on the Tua train. And we can't have that. We have to stay focused. McDaniel, yes. Tua, no. So, I'm not going past the Steelers game, but I just want to say there's a place where we get to 7-7. I believe it. And if you think that's crazy, that's fine. If you think that's crazy, you have every right. You could comment, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He's delusional. He's a moron. I'll take it. That's fine. But I can look at Washington, Saints, Jets, and say we're going to be favored on all 3 of those games. Why can't I be 6-7 headed into that Steelers game? That is not an automatic loss. The Steelers look horrible sometimes, and then sometimes they look great. That's a winnable game. That's a win. If I beat the Bills and I beat the Atlanta on the road, I could beat the Steelers. I'm just saying. You cannot say that we can't get to 7-7. And my whole argument here now is if the Dolphins get to 7-7, Mike McDaniel's clearly earned his shot at keeping his job. For such a disaster of a year, for the team to play that hard for him, he deserves to stay as our head coach. Mike McDaniel with a new GM where he's a little bit more in control of what the roster looks like and has more control over his draft picks, and maybe he gets a shot at a new quarterback. I like it. And there's a lot of sports shows that stick up for him and think, oh, he's one of the greatest offensive minds we've had in the game. We don't know what he's like as a leader, as a head coach. Well, you know what? A team that was 1-6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We were 1-6, and you end up 7-7. That guy, that's a head coach to me. That's a head coach to me. I think that's fair to say that that's a head coach. And I think everyone in the Miami Dolphins fan base should be cheering him on if he gets to that. If we get to 7-7 with a disastrous of a season without Tyreek Hill, and you started off 1-6, and you end the year going on a 6-1 run before the final 3 games, come on. If you even have a winning record, if you get to 9-8 or you get to 8-9, that's very impressive. And that's a head coach where the players are like, dude, we like this guy. Regardless of the outside noise, we like this guy. And he deserves another shot with a new GM. Now, if they start off slow the following year, that's something else. But that's how I feel. And I hope you guys feel that way too. We have a Pro Bowl running back for the first time since Ricky Williams. Ronnie Brown. Ronnie Brown made the Pro Bowl that year. Ronnie Brown, Ricky Williams, Devon Achane. I'll tell you right now, he's already top 5 in rushing. Top 5 in rushing. Here he comes. I think he's like 2 in the AFC behind Jonathan Taylor. So this guy, he's like Alvin Kamara. He's a back that gets a lot of receiving yards. He's going to rush for over 1,000 yards. Look how many times Kamara rushed for over 1,000. Not a lot. He was a big receiving back. So this guy's going to rush for over 1,000 and be second in the team in receiving. Waddle's going to break 1,000 again. I think he's deserved the right to get respect on his name that he is a good wide receiver. He's top 5 in the AFC. And people are like, oh, does he deserve that money? Hey, man, he's good. Sorry that Tyreek was on the other side for the last 2 years. And even when Tyreek was on the other side, the first 2 years, he still broke 1,000. So offensively, the running game has come a long way. And it looks good. And it looks exciting. And some of the O-line is getting better. That's something to build off of. It's something to build off of. And guess what? Our run defense, one of the best run defenses in the last 4 weeks. How about that? How about that, guys? A big turnaround. I believe in this team again. Call me delusional. 7-7. You heard it here first. 7-7, buddy. We're getting to 7-7. Mark my word. If we don't get to 7-7, I'll apologize. I'll apologize big time. I'll be like, sorry again. I got fooled. If it even happens this week, I swear to God, if they lose to Washington, I'm just going to be like, I don't get it. I'll be so confused. I'll be like, this is the most confusing Miami Dolphins team in history. But if they lose and they get to 7 and they go to 3-8, then it's like, all right, now we go back on Mike McDaniel might get fired. Look, man, all you can do is be excited. So that's where I'm at. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, like, subscribe. We'll see you Sunday night. Maybe I'll do a recap Sunday night. I'll be very tired, but let's do it. Why not? I'm home for 2 weeks. Recap Central here, baby. All right, bye.